today I want to dive into a question that I posted in some Facebook groups recently. So I posted the question of, if you're in a relationship, what are the conflicts that you have in your relationship? And on one post I had about 7 comments where people said the exact same thing. I said parenting and money. And so, I inquired with each person, tell me a little bit more about that. Why is that the biggest conflict you have? And then I thought about my own relationship and thought, those are probably 2 of our most common conflicts as well, other than chores. That's our third. And I started to wonder, like, why is this so common for people? And here's why. Money is a huge conflict and challenge for anyone. It's conflicts in work environments, it's conflicts between family, friends. So it makes sense that it would be something that could cause conflict in your relationship too. Money is a touchy subject. It has a lot of emotions involved, and it is also a means to our life. It helps us get our basic needs met. It helps us make our dreams and goals achievable. So there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in money. The other piece with parenting, it's a huge transition. Even if you already have a kid, adding more kids to your family, another transition. It's also an identity shift too. I think about, when my husband and I first became parents, we had known each other like just the 2 of us, right? We were dating, and then we were engaged, and then we were married, and now we were adding another human into our relationship dynamic. And who we both were, like their core values of who we were the same. But now, like, we knew ourselves in regards to parenting a child that is our own. That's a whole identity shift. And sometimes an identity crisis, and a lot of just learning and a lot of emotions. Again, if you think back to that first year of parenting, or becoming a parent, there's a lot of emotions just wrapped up with the sleep deprivation, the joy, the overwhelm, the stress, the just newness, so much. So it was, as I was kind of like gathering this data and just thinking about it, I think it's important to talk about that conflict is about emotions. I think we get stuck in our conflict when we get stuck in the context. And the context of our conflict is important, but the emotions and the feelings are just as important. So when you think about navigating conflict or making it work for you, it's important to really listen to what's being said, but also what is being felt or what is being expressed emotionally. So when I work with couples, I like to have them practice reflective listening. So each partner taking turns, one of you talking about how you're feeling, what you're needing, what your thoughts are, what your experience was in the conflict, and then the other partner who's listening reflects back what they heard before responding with their own reaction or response to what was said, to make sure that they're truly understanding what their partner said and how they're feeling and what they need. That is the other piece that I repeat like a parrot over and over in the work that I do, of what is it that you need. In conflict, we need it to stop, right? We don't want to fight with our partner. It doesn't feel good. But our need is usually deeper than that. Our need is usually emotional. So when I go into even just my own year of parenting, a lot of our conflicts was that I just needed sleep. I needed rest, and I needed deep rest. And I was really struggling to do that. I didn't know. I felt like it was my responsibility to take on most of the nighttime duty because my husband was getting up and driving, and so I was worried about him falling asleep. But it wasn't about who needed more sleep. It was just about I needed sleep. And so we could have come up with a lot of compromises or different solutions for navigating that. But when we would get in fights, it would be on maybe a weird statement that was made, or like, oh gosh, like, I'm responsible for having to do all the chores. Sometimes what starts the fight isn't truly what the fight is about. So that's why it's so important to be like, okay, this is what your thought was, this is what your experience, this is your position, this is how you're feeling, and this is what you need. All of those pieces are so important to understand before you do any problem solving, or any resolving in a conflict. And the same applies for money. That is a conflict we've had in our relationship because we come from different money backgrounds. Our money relationships growing up look different, and our money relationships now as adults and in our own careers looks different. And we've had to really learn how to understand what money means to each of us. And we don't do that. I don't see that happen a lot with the couples I'm working with until we work through it, or just in general. People get caught up in the context of the money versus they're not identifying the feelings behind money. So it makes sense when people say parenting and money. Those are the stressors. Those are the conflicts that we have that are most common in our relationship. So if you are one of those people who are like, oh my gosh, that's my relationship, that's what's happening for me, take these steps to help shift out of it. Take turns being the active speaker and the active listener. When you're the active speaker, talk about your experience, your position on the issue, whether it's money or parenting, your position on it, how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, and what you need. If you are the active speaker first, take notes of what your partner is saying to help you stay focused and hold your own response at bay. Try to ask open-ended questions if you're like, well, how are you feeling? What is it that you're needing? You know, what were your thoughts around this? Ask those open-ended questions to go into deeper meaning. Then reflect back what you heard. And as you reflect back, when you get done, ask your partner, like, am I tracking with you? Does that make sense? The hope is they're going to say, yes, you totally are tracking with me. If they say no, let them explain the pieces that you're missing, or they might have to try it all over again because maybe you heard it with your response or reaction versus truly hearing what they were saying. So it's okay to slow this part down and take some time. And then swap before doing any problem solving or resolving. Each of you gets that turn to be the active speaker and active listener, so you really are tracking with each other. And then you can ask that question of, okay, what do we want to do with this? Do we need to solve it right now? Do we need to do some repair in our relationship? Or is this enough data for us to just be more mindful that the next time this conflict comes up, we can hold in mind how each other feels and the stories that are connected to this for each of us. If you're needing help with this, we go into this in the work that I do with couples. I also help with one-to-one. If your partner's not ready to do some coaching on their relationship, you can make changes in your relationship on your own as well. What we model is often repeated. You know, when you think about raising children, when you praise the positive, they do more positive. When you focus on the negative, they tend to do more negative. So what we model and what we kind of try to integrate into our relationship, our partner typically will pick up and start doing the same. So if you're needing help with that, reach out. This is what I do. This is the work I love helping others do and dive deeper in. And truly what I say for people is like, I want you to get to the point that you are excited when conflict comes up because it is an opportunity to connect and to grow deeper in your relationship. So we really focus on making conflict work for you rather than against you. If you have questions about conflict or how to make it work for you, drop them in the comments below. If you have a topic that you would like me to dive into deeper next time, leave them in the comments below.